right, welcome everyone to another episode of DRM Unfiltered, the podcast that dares to go beyond the buzzwords. Get ready for a bold conversation with our experts, clients, and industry leaders that transform capital program delivery. From real world breakthroughs to game changing strategies and success stories, we're serving unfiltered insights that fuel innovation and inspire the future of project controls. No fluff, no filters, just the voices shaping tomorrow. Today's topic is going to be Unifier in 2026, why it still leads the capital projects world. We have a really special guest with us today, Jeff Singer from Oracle. Jeff, why don't you give yourself a little introduction and some background?
Thanks, Dan. Hey, everyone. My name is Jeff Singer. I've been with Oracle for almost 25 years. My journey with Unifier started in 2012 when Oracle acquired a small company called Skyer. I was actually at the Primavera headquarters at the time when our leader, Mike Cecilia, who's now CEO of Oracle, walked into the room and said, "We just bought this company called Skyer." So I looked around the room. I was sitting with a bunch of guys that have been using P6 for 20 years or selling P6 for 20 years, and I figured I'm never going to catch up to them in P6 knowledge. So I took on this new solution called Unifier, and that's been kind of my focus professionally for the past 13 years. That's crazy to say. Aside from that, for those of you that don't know me, I'm born and raised in Montreal, moved to Toronto about 10 years ago, so you will notice a slight Canadian accent here. I'm a degreed engineer and have a wife and two kids here.
Great. Thank you for carving out some time to sit down and talk with us today. So we'll jump right into it with you. Really, there's been a lot of talk in the industry lately about Unifier and what it is, what it does. In your opinion, where does Unifier fit into the broader digital transformation that's happening across capital programs?
Yeah, it's a good start. So, my day job, my title is sales consultant. So I kind of split my time between helping existing customers and speaking to new prospective customers. And when new potential customers come to us, digital transformation is always obviously top of mind for them, and where they're coming from. We probably have two categories. One are the spreadsheet lovers, right? The ones that have been doing everything in a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet for this project and a spreadsheet for that project. It's got 53 worksheets on it. Every month I take the data from this spreadsheet and I put it into this spreadsheet. So that's the first group. The second group is I'm coming from this insert product name that's been around for 30 years, and we find it's not enough for us. So either it's not supported by the vendor anymore, or it would never move to the cloud. It has a UI that looks like it's from the 1980s. So yeah, so they're all looking for some sort of transformation from a technology standpoint. Sometimes it's connected to a transformation on their ERP side. So we are fortunate to be part of Oracle. We have a lot of customers that come to us who are moving from EBS or PeopleSoft to Oracle Fusion, the cloud ERP. And Unifier is obviously a natural complement to an Oracle-based ERP system. So, when you look at the digital transformation, you look at what are some of the wins that these customers, specifically their executives, are looking for, and they're looking for things like standardization of their processes, faster access to data without having people scramble every month, early warning indicators to see what's potentially going wrong on some of their projects, but really getting everyone, all the collaborators on these projects, into one system so they can all speak the same language, I guess. So, digital transformation, I guess, means different things to different people that come to us. Some it's just getting away from Excel. Some it's about completely revamping their how they execute on projects. Sometimes they have partners like yourself, Dan, that come to them and to help them not just with the technology transformation, but the change management, process management, all that mapping and fun stuff that no software company can really manage. That's where our valued partners come in. But yeah, you need the technology behind it. And if you are taking that digital transformation journey where you're going through and mapping through all your processes, you need to think and look at tools like Unifier to think, am I going to adapt my processes to the software, or am I going to adapt my software to our desired processes? And I think that's why Unifier has been so successful with these journeys over the past few decades.
better be careful with that the spreadsheets. You might give some people PTSD. All right. Well, moving on, people always ask us, what is Unifier? And in your opinion, what are the core strengths of Unifier that continue to differentiate it from other project delivery and project controls platforms on the market today?
Yeah, and I guess the best way to answer that question is probably with a bit of a walk down memory lane on Unifier and its humble beginnings. Unifier when it started was really sold as a platform. We have a great form editor. We have a great workflow editor. We have all the hooks and connections to take cost data that's entered on a form, roll it up to a cost sheet, and get it forecasting and cash flow. All that plumbing has always been there in Unifier. The challenge that Unifier had up until about 5 years ago was we would sell Unifier as a platform, and guys like me would go in there and give them a great demonstration of here's everything Unifier could do, here's the art of the possible. And then they would say, great, we want exactly what Jeff just showed us. And then they would sit down and realize that, okay, we need to build all that now. But the important thing is that all that plumbing, all that capability was there behind the tool and has been for decades. What changed in the last 5 years was the introduction of the Unifier Accelerator. And what that helps customers, new customers with is here's the starting point. Here's your 80%, 90% fit. We have all the industry best practices for capital project and portfolio management. We know what a typical workflow is for a submittal or an RFI. We even give different scenarios, like maybe there's a coordinator involved before it gets submitted to the AE. So we kind of took the industry best practices. We took experience from implementing Unifier for all those years from our consulting group. We looked at all of our applications, best of breed, right? What can we pull from risk management from Primavera Cloud, payment management from Textura. So let's look across our tools and even our historic tools like Contract Manager. And let's build this super starting point for new customers so they're not sitting down with consultants and saying, I need an RFI, and that RFI has to have a question field, and that question field should be 256 characters. Those days are gone. But where the value of Unifier sits is all that history, all that ability to configure beyond and take it that last 10 or 20% to meet an organization's need. That's all baked into the tool. So now the big difference that Unifier is bringing to the market is we're bringing the best of both worlds. We still have that super configurable tool and platform, but we're also giving customers that great starting point. So configurability with a great head start. And then on top of that, looking at some other differentiators, obviously being Oracle is a benefit. We are so fortunate to be part of Oracle and be a consumer of all the great things that Oracle puts out. If you look at things like the Redwood user interface, right? People think of Oracle and some of the ERP competitors 15 years ago, and it was like, single color screens and just a bunch of forms and fields. And if you look at Oracle now and the Redwood user experience, user interface, I mean, it's beautiful now. So we're just a consumer. There's a whole team working on how to make all of our applications at Oracle beautiful, and we're able to consume that, and it's constantly getting updated. So you can see the look and feel of Unifier is constantly getting better and better. Same thing with our analytics engine, right? Oracle Analytics Cloud, our reporting tool, Oracle Analytics Publisher. So we're able to take all these great things, never mind some of the softer benefits like having the Oracle support machine and the 24/7 and the website and the security with OCI and all that great stuff. We're just able to be a consumer of Oracle and kind of flow all those benefits through to our customers.
You mentioned that, having Oracle behind you, and that's one of the things that I always talk to people about is the process of sustainability. A lot of these organizations that are deploying it have 10, 20, 30-year programs, and they have to worry about sustainability. Is other programs going to be around in 2, 5, or even 10 years? So it's good that you mentioned that having that backing behind you because Oracle's been around for 50 years. So you can really talk on sustainability.
Yeah, I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon. I don't think anyone's acquiring us. And I do like to walk down memory lane. If you look at Unifier post acquisition, as I was getting ramped up on Unifier, Oracle just bought the tool, and I'm looking for new features. and they just weren't coming. And there was like 2 years where we just weren't introducing new features, and there's a reason for that. It's because Oracle acquiring a small company, all of a sudden they uncovered all the things that a small company was able to get away with, like the complete lack of, security and code, not adhering to all the code standards that an organization like Oracle enforces. So, it took us 2 years to basically get Unifier up to that enterprise level, security, scalability, just passing all the Oracle tests. So the good news is for new customers, that's all behind us now. The tool's already at that level. So yeah, definitely something to think about when looking for PMIS solutions.
Oh, I remember Unifier 9.1 or whatever it was. So yes. Excellent. So if you had to explain Unifier's superpower to an executive, what would be your highlights?
Oh boy, I don't even know where to start. So there's a lot of superpowers. Obviously, for executives, the thing they care about is access to the data, right? So getting the data in has to be as simple as possible. So how can we automate things? How can we get people the right forms at the right time so that they could fill it in, instead of project managers having to chase after people? So, things like ball and court reports, things like task notifications, overdue notifications, right? Letting the system do a lot of that work for the project managers to make sure the data gets in a timely manner, and the executives have that visibility across all the projects. And that's which brings us to another superpower is Unifier is not a project management system. It is a portfolio and program management system. So you're not looking at every project in a silo. You have the roll-up capabilities across your programs and portfolios to see everything. So not only are your processes standardized across all your projects, maybe with slight variations here and there, um, but all the data can be easily combined and rolled up so that you can get that visibility. So, I mean, when I speak to executives, that's at the end of the day, they care about whether their users are actually going to use the system or they're just putting another roadblock, in front of their people that they're going to reject. And are they going to get any benefits personally? Are those executives going to be able to benefit? So, sure, to make sure they have access to the data, to make sure any standards, governance, standard operating procedures, anything that they enforce is followed down at the project level, and making sure people are going to use it, whether that's on the web or giving people access on their phones, just to make sure they can enter the data at the right time through the right device. Those are probably the functional superpowers. Outside of that, the superpower I'm most excited about, and I'm sure I'll reference this throughout today's chat, is Oracle Integration Cloud. And for those folks that are listening to this that are longtime Unifier customers, I'd categorize the introduction of Oracle Integration, or OIC, as one of the biggest changes. I'd say top five since the Oracle acquisition, in terms of changes to Unifier. And what that does is it enables us to change Unifier from a no-code platform, which it has been since the dawn of time. It's always been a very configurable no-code platform, to a low-code platform. So it gives us this ability to automate, um, a few more use cases, things that weren't previously possible. Unifier has a lot of capabilities when it comes to deep configuration, sometimes to a fault. Sometimes you need a Unifier nerd like myself, to build some complex things. But this simplifies a lot of that. So to help automate things, an example I always give is if someone is out in the field and submits a daily report, should they really have to key in the weather? They don't know you can't just figure out what the weather is. You have to stop what you're doing, look on your phone. Okay, the weather is 75 degrees today. It looks like it's snowing. Why should someone have to do that out in the field? No, they should just submit the daily report. Unifier knows where the project is. The weather is a known thing, right? We know what the weather is like at different points in the day at this latitude and longitude. So, go fetch the weather before sending it off to the next person in the workflow. Go fetch the weather and add that. So that's just one simple example. But, taking that further is, if you look at an example like project status updates, right? Every project manager's favorite thing in the world to do is every month update some project status across all their projects. And I'm not talking about the projects where there's 17 PMs on one project. I'm talking about the ones where one PM has 17 projects, and it's a real thorn in his side to have to do that. So how can we get a little more intelligent? How can we have, instead of them having to go in and submit their project status report every month, how about every month it sends it to the PM? To take that further, how about every month it sends it to the PM, but it pre-populates everything. Unifier knows what the cost sheet looks like, what the latest forecast was, which risks are currently potential or active risks or impacted risks, what issues are currently in place. We have the full financial snapshot of the project. What if we took all that data, put it in there, and then sent it to the PM? So instead of the PM pulling up a blank form, it's already populated. And then to take that even further, the other area I'm excited about with Unifier is our entrance into AI. What if we had an AI summarization that actually took all that data, summarized it for you, and then sent it to the PM? So now the PM, instead of having to waste all their time going and looking through the project, seeing how we're doing on cost and schedule and risk, what if it was more like just AI was doing it for you, and then you're just basically signing off on it? So, these are some of the superpowers that Oracle Integration Cloud introduces, combined with some of our AI capabilities. So, lots of excitement in that area.
Perfect. So you've talked about the configurability, which Unifier is known for. How has Oracle balanced flexibility with maintainability in recent releases?
Yeah, so I speak to a lot of customers coming from a lot of different places. Some are new to Unifier, some have been using Unifier since before the Oracle acquisition. I think one thing that most Unifier longtime customers are not that concerned about is upgrades, right? It's just kind of a known thing that as you build because it's all configurations and not customizations, as you build these things, it's not changing much as Oracle upgrades. And one of the benefits of the cloud SaaS applications is it's not like you only upgrade every 2 years. You're staying pretty current. You're upgrading every few months, and I think Unifier customers have accepted the fact that as they upgrade from version to version, things are going to work. You don't need to retest every workflow, every form. So a lot of customers still like to test all their integrations, of course, especially to their financial systems. But things will keep working from version to version, unlike customized applications where you really need to worry as you upgrade the application that are my customizations going to still work. It's less of a concern with a configuration tool because the configuration is just part of the application. For maintainability, I'd also talk about how we have the different environments. We have at a minimum, every Unifier customer has their dev and production environment, so they can do what they need to do in dev and only push those changes to production. Many of my customers have additional non-production licenses. So they have a test environment, they have a pre-prod, they have a UAT environment. I think the most I've seen was 7 non-production environments
Hmm.
for a lot of testing based on IT standards and requirements. So yeah, as long as the customers have that discipline, as once you get the hang of, how do I start building things in development and testing it there before pushing it to prod or some of the intermediate environments. I mean, you need a configurable tool. That like you said, that is Unifier's claim to fame. It's why customers come to us. It's why they stick with us, is they want that configuration. But nobody wants things breaking on them every 3 months when they upgrade.
Very true. Very, very true. So, talking about that and maybe expanding a little further, are there recent enhancements or projected roadmap items that signal where Oracle is going to be taking Unifier to that next level?
Yeah, so I'm unfortunately I'm not allowed to talk about roadmaps, so I'll stick to I'll stick to current capabilities. But I will say we are about a month, well, depending on when this is released, we are less than a month from our next release, which is going to have some good stuff in there. Um, if you look at the trajectory of our the past few years and where we've been focusing on, I mentioned how OIC is probably one of the biggest changes to Unifier since the Oracle acquisition. Going back, the first thing once Oracle bought it, like I mentioned, we got it up to enterprise level. That was a must do. The next thing we did was we introduced the Redwood user interface, right? So the focus on usability. And actually, that's been a focus over the last few years as we've taken it to the next level of Redwood. And we actually have our UX team that looks at the number of clicks and trying to get everything to the latest version of Redwood. After that, the introduction of the Unifier accelerator was probably one of the probably well, selfishly since I was heavily involved in that, one of the most important changes to Unifier. Like I said, getting those customers, new customers, to that 80 to 90% starting point, and that continues to be a focus area with Unifier. So you've seen our first release. We had the 50 or so business processes. That's now up to I think 65 on the project control side, another 50 or so on the facilities and asset management side. So a big theme for Oracle was how can we get customers up and running faster instead of every implementation being a science project. Um, next came Oracle Integration Cloud, and then now the most recent two improvements to Unifier that I'm excited about are visualizations. So we've had dashboards in Unifier for the longest time, but they've always been a bit limited, and that forced a lot of our customers to use Power BI. And I got nothing against Power BI. It's a great tool. It solves some problems that we don't, like combining different data from different systems, right? That maybe Unifier doesn't know about that data. But we don't want to force customers to have to leverage a third-party analytics tool. So the visualizations that we introduced just a year ago and then updated in October, they are leaps and bounds above what you could previously do in dashboards. They're covering a lot of the things that previously you had to write. If you weren't going to something like Power BI, you had to write a custom report in Oracle Analytics Publisher, which we know the problems with the reports, right? It's not real time. Once it's distributed, it's not necessarily real time anymore. So how can we get in-application context-specific visualizations to our users? And that's something I'm very excited about. So things like timelines, like showing me all my projects on a timeline view, showing me stoplight reports on or dashboards, visualizations across my organization on how I'm doing from budget and risk and schedule perspective, right? Those kinds of things to make Unifier more visual. We already have all the data. We are great at tracking the data. How we present that data to stakeholders and executives, that's a big area of improvement. And then finally, the big one, I'm sure I would get yelled at if I didn't talk about this being Oracle, is AI. So AI is a major focus for Oracle. If you listen to our quarterly earnings results, I think you probably don't want to play a drinking game every time the letters AI are mentioned. So obviously a big focus for us with Unifier, especially. We've already released some with more coming. The big ones are BP summarization. So I can select some let's say I have a risk register on a project. I can select all those risks and have AI summarize that. And I have control over whether that's like a bulleted list, if it's chatty or kind of succinct, or if it's which fields we want it to look at. But basically, in-app sending data over to AI to summarize it. Also, the workflow. Not, we've always shown the workflow progress. Jeff created this, he sent it to Dan, Dan responded at this date. But what did Dan do? How long did he take? What were the changes? So we can take a complex workflow, because I've seen workflows that have, 100 different steps, and have AI summarize that to tell me really the journey that record went on through its life cycle. So you're going to see some more AI stuff in the next release that I'm very excited about, which takes it beyond just the Unifier data into other areas. So stay tuned on that one. But hopefully that summarized the roadmap without giving away any future direction of Oracle.
Didn't give the secret sauce out, Jeff. You did.
Yep.
Excellent. So, not that we're going to talk about the roadmap, but how is Oracle positioning Unifier to stay competitive in what I consider a very increasingly crowded market and sector?
Yeah, I think when you look at the market, you'll see some legacy tools that have been around for 30, 40 years. You'll see some new tools. I think one concern I have, not for Oracle's own success, but for our customers, one concern I have is that, the vibe coding, right? Some guy in his basement is going to just have a chat with AI over a weekend and think and come up with a snazzy website and say, here's a RFI tool, for example. And then customers are going to start going into that, realizing there's no real meat behind it. It was just, quickly developed over a weekend and with AI. So the vibe coding. Um, when I look at the market, and the maturity, I see the owner tools like, Unifier has been mostly an owner tool over its life cycle. I see contractor tools. I'm not going to name any names, but I think people know who's in the market, and a lot of those contractor tools are trying to extend to the owner side, but at the core, they're still pretty project focused because that's kind of how contractors have operated for all these years. Um, and just to kind of say what I said earlier in a different way is again, do you want to have that configurability? Do you want to adhere? Do you want to adapt your processes to the software, or do you want to have the software adapt to your processes? And that's why people come to Unifier is they know they want to follow their own processes and they need a software that's going to support um, that journey that they're going on. So yeah, having an owner-centric tool that is highly configurable to satisfy any process, having an easily integratable tool. Obviously, if customers are on Oracle and need to integrate to Oracle, whether that's Oracle Fusion, Primavera P6, Oracle Primavera Cloud, there is no better tool on the market to integrate to Oracle software than Primavera Unifier. We just released our first pre-built integration flow to Fusion, with more coming with Oracle Integration Cloud. So another um, exciting step within our Oracle journey. So obviously, customers need to look when they're selecting a PMIS solution, they need to look at the overall landscape. And at the end of the day, it's rarely the PMIS tool, the project management tool, that's paying the vendors, right? It's not. We're not going to be the vendor master record. So we know we need to pull data from the financial system of record. We know we need to send data to the payment system so that a check can be cut and sent to the contractors. So the integratability, if that's a word, the maturity of our APIs, and not just looking at the APIs, but Oracle Integration Cloud having connectors. Like one of the things I love about Oracle Integration Cloud is it turns these integrations into a pure mapping exercise. Like you would literally see a list of fields from Unifier and a list of fields from Fusion, and you were just dragging them over. If you're not using something that we have out of the box and you're building something, you just drag. It's honestly like just mapping, drag and drop visual. Sure, you need to transform some data here and there, but it becomes really easy to integrate two systems when you have a tool like that. That being said, I realize that not every customer uses Oracle Fusion. Not every customer uses an Oracle financial system. So, and finally, not every customer uses Oracle Integration Cloud. So if we have a customer that comes to us and they say, well, we use MuleSoft, we use Boomi, that's fine. We have the APIs. We have well tested, well used, free to use APIs to get data out of Unifier. There's not a single field in Unifier, not a single bit, not a single byte in Unifier that you cannot read through our APIs. And then based on business rules for creating and updating data, we have all the APIs to do that as well. So integration needs to be one of the main considerations, I guess, coming back to your question about a competitive project controls market, that it needs to be one of the key considerations when selecting a tool.
Yeah, I consider it not closing yourself within a box where with the configurability of Unifier, you have that ability to add on to what's already there, where some maybe other tools in the market will have to take that weekend and build it so that they could say, yes, we have this now where you already have it available to you. Just have to, a few other strings you got to pull to do it. All right. So maybe we'll go to a little bit of the sales side right now. So organizations that are evaluating Unifier today, in your opinion, should they focus on basically to make them ensure themselves long-term success? And I think this kind of hits on what I mentioned earlier with sustainability.
I mean, my recommendation would be start with the end. Start with what you want to get out of the system. because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. So if I'm an executive, what do I need? What reports do I need sitting in my inbox every Monday morning or every first of the month? So start with the end in mind and then work your way backwards from that. Once you know the kind of outputs you want to get, let's talk then about the inputs, and what's going to go into the system to get you to that result. So having your KPIs on what you want to track from a project controls perspective across your portfolio, obviously that's key. As I mentioned, integrations, data does not live in a box. What kind of data do we need coming into the system? What kind of data do we need going out of the system? What's the frequency? Are the ERPs guys going to let us talk to the system through APIs? Are they going to make us send them flat files, right? Who knows what the rules are there? So how can we play nice with the other systems that need to be around the project control system? Governance, right? Do you have set in stone processes that you need to adhere to? Who's going to touch the system, right? Most customers these days have finally, and I'll say finally because it's been a long journey to convince a lot of customers of this, but most customers today realize that they're buying a collaborative system with their vendors. For the longest time, owner systems were kind of locked down. I think they were just used to that from ERP, right? Oh, I'm not going to let my vendors into the system. This is my system. I think it's changed a lot. That perception has changed a lot over the last, I don't know, 10 years or so. So who's coming into my system? Is the system going to be easy to use? Am I going to need a full-time team of people that are supporting my vendors because my contractors need to install something on the computer for this to work, and everyone's got different laptops and versions of operating systems. So user adoption, how easily and how eager are people going to be to put data into the system? How many clicks does it take to do something? What can we automate? I think those are all things that, when selecting a tool, need to be top of mind for the teams. I think sometimes, just from doing this for a long time, it does turn into a beauty contest of, what's the prettiest, who has the prettiest user interface, which I guess works to our advantage because probably 10 years ago we were not the prettiest one, and now we actually are one of the prettiest ones. So that definitely helps. But I mean, that's just overall user perception, right? Are people actually going to use this thing? Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming to the end of this, one more question for you. What's the most exciting Unifier project you've seen recently? And in your opinion, what made it actually stand out?
So I work, I split my time between, as I mentioned, new customers and existing customers. I'm fortunate enough being in Toronto that Unifier surrounds me. It's used by the rail infrastructure organization here in Toronto. The airports are using Unifier in Toronto. Not in Toronto and Montreal. My alma mater university is using Unifier. So it's actually affected me at a personal level. So I guess to answer your question, the most exciting projects are the ones that help me fly out to visit customers, help me get downtown on the train, help the next generation of me's get an education in modern facilities. Other than that, I mean, Unifier is being used globally. I think sometimes we forget that there's a world outside North America, but some pretty major projects, and I think people in their industries kind of think of Unifier being used only in that industry, but you look at infrastructure, energy, like oil and gas and utilities. You look at defense projects. You look at people building submarines. Obviously, retail, healthcare, education. It really touches all aspects of people's lives. Um, and then to answer your question, more directly, I guess one specific project would be one that just completed here in Toronto after 15 years, which was the Eglinton Rail. So that was done by Metrolinx. You see with any infrastructure project, I think you see all sides of it. So being able to work with the team working on it, but then you also see the headlines in the newspaper, and taxpayers are taxpayers, and everyone's getting frustrated. Anytime something goes a day over over schedule or a dollar over budget. So Yeah, I'm just excited about transportation and infrastructure in my hometown being improved.
That's awesome. That's a great story. And it's part of that evolution you were talking about earlier from the early days to where we are now. So, Jeff, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us today, answer our questions, whether they were tough or whether they were easy. Try not to do too many softballs for you. Any closing thoughts you'd like to perceive to our audience?
No, I just want to thank you, Dan, for giving me the opportunity to speak to our joint clients and potential customers. If anyone's looking to learn more, I'm always an email or a phone call away. And yeah, I look forward to more of these in the future.
Absolutely. We'll see if we can come up with maybe some little harder topics for you. But
There you
Jeff,
go.
thank you for sitting down with us. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Dan.